Bites of Pie. Today we're going to do a Kickstarter for Lab6c reversing an array. Essentially, we're going to write a program that allows the user to specify how many integers they want in an array. We'll create that array, allow them to add it into the array and store them. We'll print that array, and then we'll reverse the array and print that out. So the output result should look something like this. Essentially, we'll ask the user how many they want. We'll say this one wants 7. Enter the values for the array, and they'll just put in any number of values. Here they just happen to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's the normal array, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then in the code, we'll actually swap the values in the array and then print it out in the reverse. And one thing to note, as we're going through this, we're not just going to print it in reverse. Some clever people will think, well, I don't need to reverse everything. I'll just go backwards and print everything backwards. Well, that's not what we're doing here. You won't get credit for that. You actually have to reverse the array. Some more creative people will try and just create a second array and just loop through and rather than swapping the actual elements in the array, they'll create a second array and then just store it in reverse. So this one, take note of these two warnings here. Don't just print it in reverse, and don't just create a secondary array. You need to swap the actual elements in the array, and we'll be checking the code for that. So let's start off with the simplest thing. Let's ask the person for values. Alright, here this should be simple. We're already creating a scanner and we have the array. Now we need to ask them for the array. So let's start off by just asking them for how many integers we want. So here I am just asking them how many integers I want in the array, and I'm going to scan that value in. So create that, and there we go. So here I am. I'm going to scan in whatever they enter in. In this case, I'm going to be scanning in the 7. And then I create a new integer array with that many values. Okay, so right now we didn't create the array statically right when we declared it. We waited until the user entered in what they wanted, and then we created it later on. So that's a key thing. You don't want to statically hard code the number of values in your array here. Now we're going to loop through and get the values in. So it would be what you would think. Essentially, I'm going to need to prompt them again. I need to enter the values for the array, and now I'm probably going to loop through, right? So I'm going to create another for loop for int I count equals 0 I count less than I num values. We know that we already have that value here, so we know that that array has that many values, and we're just going to I count plus, just increment it. Whoops, increment it once. Now I'm not going to give you the answer for this, but so in here I'm just going to be scanning it. I'm going to be setting the values of IRA values. So I'll probably want to set I count equal to something, and I'm going to leave this for you to do. Now there's a hint right here. Notice I'm just doing scan int. I'm doing scan next ints. Now what's happening here, we're just getting the new ints, but there's a hidden new line character here, and sometimes it flips out. Sometimes this application flips out because it's expecting the new line character from the next line, and from what you're going to be entering in. So the hint right here says call scan next line to take in the new line character. So here I'm going to, just for safety's sake, I'm going to create the scan next line. Now you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this if it works for you. In fact, I think there's another way to make sure that scan next line is taken care of. But for right now, this is if you run into issues with going to the next line, call the scan next line and it'll take care of that invisible new line character. That's the hint there. Finally, it'll print the array. We're going to print the array. I won't do that here for you. I'll leave that for you. And then comes the real workhorse of the application. Here's where we're going to reverse the array. Now, you would think, oh, well, I'm just going to loop through. I'm going to loop through the values again and then swap the values, right? So maybe I'm going to say something like inum values I count equals, say inum values, and we'll take the length of the array. Actually, this is IR values, wrong. So this is the array, and this is the length of the value. IR values that. Let's see, come on, it's working. There we go. Length minus I count. You may think you want to do something like that, but that's not going to work, because essentially we're going from 0 to the end of the array, and we're going to swap. So this will be 0. So if this was, say, let's take this example of a 7-item array. It would swap location 0 with 7 minus 0, and that'd be fine. Then it'd be 1 with 7 minus 1, which would be 6. So it would be 0 with 7, 1 with 6, 2 with 5, and so on. But the problem is it's going to go all the way through the array, and once you reach midpoint, it'll start backing all your changes out. So you're going to have to do something to stop it halfway, or come up with a different way to swap the values. Again, one of the things you want to validate is making sure that your output looks like these sample outputs here. That concludes the Kickstarter. Thanks for watching.